place the right people in the right seats, and the bus will run smoothly.
Yeah, the classic James Collins quote, good to great.
Right. It's one of those management maxims that sounds incredibly logical, almost painfully simple when you just say it out loud.
Sure, in a boardroom. I mean, it makes perfect sense on a whiteboard. You have a map, you have seats, you have people, you match them up.
But I want you to try applying that exact logic to a modern customer support center at, say, 9 a.m. on a Monday.
Yeah, that is not a smooth bus ride. It is basically a demolition derby.
Exactly. You're looking at thousands of tickets flooding in, everything from, I forgot my password, to the entire server farm is literally on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And you have agents calling in sick, agents who are totally burned out, and then those brand new agents who, frankly, have no idea what they're doing yet.
Right.
So trying to manually put the right person in the right seat in the middle of all that chaos, it just feels impossible.
It's a logistical nightmare. And honestly, that is exactly why today's deep dive is going to be so crucial for anyone who's, interested in operational efficiency or the actual practical application of AI.
Right, because we aren't talking about generating poems or images here.
Mm-hmm.
We are diving into something highly technical. Next-gen intelligent case assignment.
Yeah, and we're pulling this from a really technical presentation given by Tali Bartal at the AI for CX Summit 2025.
And the mission for this deep dive is super specific. We need to understand how we move from just dumping a ticket on whoever happens to be free to a system that actually understands the content of the work and the state of the worker.
It's a difference between simple allocation, which is really just finding an open slot, and true optimization, finding the absolute best fit. And as we'll see, doing that requires a system that is surprisingly stateful.
So here's the roadmap for you listening. We're going to cover the evolution of this tech, the 4 specific pillars of the AI engine, and this is the part I'm most interested in, we're going to walk through 4 specific technical use cases.
Yeah, the live scenarios.
Exactly. How you actually configure logic for global customers, new hires, and even just junk tickets.
It's a fantastic case study because it really exposes that core tension between automation and human nuance.
But before we get to the AI, we need to establish the baseline. Because support ticket routing has obviously been around as long as the internet. So where do we start?
If we look at the timeline, the Stone Age, which is really only like the early 2000s, was the era of traditional assignment.
Like early Salesforce days.
Right. It was heavily rule-based routing.
So if X, then Y, if the word password is in the subject line, send to tier 1.
Correct. Or just very simple skill-based routing. It was rigid. A manager usually had to literally sit there and stare at a queue, or you just set up a basic round-robin system.
Round-robin being the card dealer approach, right?
Yeah.
One for you, one for you, one for you.
Precisely. It deals the cards to everyone equally. And the focus back then was purely on speed and load balancing. The system did not care if you were having a terrible day, if you were already working on 3 complex fires, or if you were even actually good at that specific problem.
It just knew you had an open slot.
It just saw the slot.
Which sounds like an absolute recipe for burnout.
That was massive burnout. It treated human beings like API endpoints, just responding to requests until they crashed. And then around maybe 2017 or 2018, we started seeing the first AI pilots.
The smart assignment phase.
Yeah, we called it smart assignment. It got a little better at predicting things, but it was still really rules heavy. Essentially just if X, then Y, but with a lot more variables to look at.
And that leads us to the source material's main focus.
Yep.
Next-gen intelligent assignment. So what is the fundamental technical shift here? Is it just faster processing?
No, the shift is from reactive to proactive. It's fundamentally a hybrid approach. It blends hard business rules, which you still absolutely need for compliance and SLAs, with AI agents that can actively read sentiment, understand customer value, and look at agent capacity in real time.
But the key differentiator Tali Bartal highlights in the presentation is how it balances that tension between manual and auto assignment.
Because there's a huge trust gap there.
Right. Managers don't want to just hand the keys to the robot and walk away.
Exactly. That's the major friction point. Manual assignment is great for complex, unique edge cases, but it creates a massive bottleneck because it requires a human manager to physically review and click a button.
And auto assignment is fast and consistent, but historically it felt robotic. It missed the context.
Right. So the solution we're looking at today uses auto assignment for the bulk of the work to free up the managers, but it retains a very specific manual interface for when things get tricky.
Okay, let's pop the hood. I want to get into the engine itself. The source material outlines 4 pillars that the AI uses to make a routing decision. This isn't just who is available. So what are we actually measuring here?
If you are the admin setting the system up, these are the 4 data buckets the AI is weighing simultaneously. Number 1 is real-time capacity.
Which honestly just sounds like the old, do they have a slot metric?
It's much deeper than that. It's not just binary availability. It's cognitive load. It assesses the backlog. It looks at agent management to specifically prevent burnout.
How does it measure that?
Well, if an agent just took a really heavy, complex case, say as a severity 1 server outage, even if they theoretically have a slot open in their queue for another case, the system might hold back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it prioritizes them lower immediately after a heavy assignment just to let them breathe.
That's pacing.
Huh?
That's exactly what a good human manager does instinctively.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Sarah just handled a nightmare client. Let's give her 10 minutes before we hit her again.
Exactly. Standard software usually just sees count is less than capacity and assigns the ticket. This next-gen system looks at the actual weight of the recent work.
Okay, what's pillar number 2?
Number 2 is skill set. But again, we have to move way beyond keywords here. Traditional routing just looks for a basic tag like Java or billing.
And the problem with tags is they are totally binary. You either have the tag or you don't. And they rot.
They rot so quickly. Or think about this. The ticket contains the word Java, but it's actually a billing dispute about a Java training course. A keyword matcher sends that straight to a developer who then has to manually transfer it to finance.
Which is just wasted time for everyone.
Exactly. So this AI uses NLP, natural language processing, to do nuanced detection. It reads the text of the incoming case, compares it to the successful resolution history of the agents, and finds a match that might not even be explicitly tagged in a simple list.
So it actually knows I'm good at fixing database crashes because I've solved 10 of them recently, even if my official HR profile just says database admin.
Yes. It infers competence directly from performance. It essentially says, the last time we saw this specific pattern of words, Agent A fixed it in 10 minutes.
That is powerful. What's pillar number 3?
Reading and prioritization. This is basically queue management logic. The AI ensures that high-priority cases don't get stuck behind low-priority ones just because they happen to arrive 5 minutes later.
So it's constantly reshuffling the deck based on SLA clocks.
Very dynamic shuffling. It's not first in, first out. It's most critical first out.
And the 4th pillar?
Customer signals. This is really the modern layer. It's extracting sentiment from the ticket text. Is the customer angry? Are they a strategic account?
So it weights the decision based on customer profile data.
Right. So an angry, high-value customer gets routed very differently than a happy, low-value one.
There was one feature in that capacity bucket that really stood out to me in the source material: time overlap. That felt like a very practical, non-AI feature that actually matters a whole lot more than people realize.
I loved that detail, too. It's a perfect example of intelligent, not necessarily meaning complex neural net. The system actually checks if the customer and the agent have overlapping working hours.
And not just do they both work on Tuesday.
Right. It checks if there is enough overlap for an actual conversation.
Because if I'm in New York and I assign a ticket to you in Sydney, and you're logging off in 20 minutes...
We are just playing tag at that point. I send a question, you answer while I'm asleep, I reply while you're asleep. A simple issue takes 3 days to resolve.
It's awful.
The system actively looks for a substantial window of synchronous communication to speed up the resolution. It's a hard constraint that the AI respects during the routing process.
It effectively optimizes for synchronous resolution probability.
It's a very fancy way to put it, but yes. It realizes that a live back-and-forth conversation is worth 10 delayed emails.
Okay, so that's the theory. That's the underlying engine. Now I want to shift into how a company actually switches this on. Because implementing AI often sounds like a 6-month consulting nightmare.
It really does.
But the source material lays out a specific technical stack for setup. Walk us through those steps.
It's surprisingly structured. It all starts with the skill ontology.
Ontology is a great word, but let's quickly define it for the listener.
It's simply the map of skills and how they relate to each other. It's the customized dictionary of your specific support center. Now, the system has automation to extract these skills from past cases, and this directly addresses the cold start problem. Humans can actually inject skills manually.
Tali mentioned you can upload a file or adjust them in the UI, but why is that manual injection important? Why not just let the AI learn everything from scratch?
Imagine you launch a brand new product tomorrow, Widget X. The AI hasn't seen any cases for Widget X yet, so it has absolutely no data to learn from. It doesn't know who is good at it. It's a total blind spot.
Ah, right. It has no baseline.
Exactly. So you manually train the ontology by tagging the agents who just took the training course. You prime the pump so the system isn't flying blind on day one. You just tell it, hey, these 5 people know widget X.
Makes total sense. What comes next in the setup?
You set up virtual teams. Instead of assigning rules to individuals, you group agents logically maybe by region or tier. Then you define shifts. This creates the availability window.
The source mentioned something about integration here. Do you have to rebuild all your shifts if you already have them sitting in Salesforce?
No, and that's critical for actual adoption. For Salesforce customers, this can integrate directly with Omnichannel to pull availability status straight from the CRM.
And if you aren't using Salesforce?
You just manage the shifts natively in SupportLogic.
Got it. And then finally, you have virtual queues and auto-assignment rules.
Right. Think of virtual queues as buckets with specific filters, and the rules are the logic applied per queue. This allows you to have the advanced AI running the high priority queue, but maybe just a simple round robin running the password reset queue.
So it isn't an all or nothing switch. You can mix and match the strategies. That is a perfect transition, because the most valuable part of this source material, the part I really want to spend the most time on, was the 4 live scenarios. Tali Bartal walked through 4 very specific problems and exactly how to configure the logic to solve them.
Yeah, these scenarios are the real-world application. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Let's start with Scenario A, the strategic global customer. Here's the problem. You have a massive client. They pay you a lot of money. They have offices in London, New York, and Tokyo. They expect 24/7 coverage. You absolutely cannot drop the ball on these guys. How do we build the logic stack to ensure they get white glove service?
This is a classic waterfall configuration. It operates on a series of cascading checks. First, you create a strategic virtual queue that filters specifically for that customer's domain. Then, you set up priority bucket 1. This is your primary A team of agents, your absolute best people.
Okay, but if the customer is in Tokyo and your A team is in London, they might be asleep, or they might just be fully booked.
That's where the logic flows down to the next level. You set up priority bucket 2. This is your fallback team, specifically selected because they are in different time zones. So if bucket 1 has no capacity or no availability, the AI immediately checks bucket 2.
And what if everyone is busy? What if there's a massive global outage and every board is red?
This is where you need a safety net. You enable round-robin settings as the absolute final fallback. If no agents are available based on the SMART criteria, the system just reverts to round-robin to ensure the case at least lands in someone's queue. It forces the assignment.
Because you never want a strategic ticket to just sit unassigned in limbo because the system couldn't find the perfect agent.
Right. Better to have an imperfect agent assigned than no agent at all. And there was one more crucial setting she mentioned for this global priority.
What does that do?
You go into the global settings and set this specific strategic queue to be evaluated first amongst all other queues. So before the system even looks at the general support queue, it clears the strategic queue. It ensures these VIPs never, ever wait behind a standard ticket.
It's defensive engineering. I really like that. Let's move to Scenario B, onboarding new agents. This is a classic problem in literally every industry. You hire 5 new people, they've done the training, but they have 0 actual experience. If you put them in the main pool, they drown. If you don't give them work, they never learn. How does this system handle the newbie?
You start by creating a new agent's virtual team. The configuration here is all about gating. First, you use shift control. You might configure their availability so they are only assigned cases during morning hours, say Monday to Friday, no weekends.
Just when management is actually around to help them.
Exactly. So no unsupervised night shifts where they might break something critical. Then you use the Agents at Insight panel to set rule limits. You can literally cap their physical capacity.
So you can tell the system, assign this agent only 1 case every 2 hours.
Yes.
That is incredibly granular. It's basically drip feeding them work.
It completely prevents them from being buried. And finally, you use skill gating. You manually assign them simple skills in the ontology, things like authentication or password reset.
And because the AI sees that they only have those specific skills, it will only route those low-risk ticket types to them.
Exactly. It creates a safe sandbox environment purely through routing logic. And as they get better and faster, you can just loosen the skill gating and the rule limits.
That is infinitely better than just shouting across the room, hey, don't give the new guy the server crash ticket. It systematizes the training wheels. Moving on to Scenario C, high volume or legacy products. So the context here is you have an old product. It generates a ton of tickets, but they are mostly junk or low value. You need to keep agents fed, but you don't want to overwhelm them with garbage work that distracts from the new, important stuff.
This is where you actually turn the AI off, or rather you simplify it entirely. Tali suggests creating a specific queue for these legacy products and just using round robin.
So no machine learning needed here, just dealing cards.
Right, but with a specific twist, the time boxing twist. You configure the queue to only assign cases between specific hours, for example, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and you cap it at, say, 5 cases per agent.
Wait, explain the psychology there. Why limit the hours?
It essentially says, okay, everyone, do your chores first. It loads them up with 5 legacy tickets first thing in the morning, clears the backlog, and then stops assigning from that specific queue for the rest of the day.
Oh, I see. So the agents can focus on high-value work for the rest of their shift without getting constantly pinged by low-value interruptions.
Exactly. It compartmentalizes the noise. It manages the distraction rather than letting it bleed into the whole day. It's basically a workflow hack implemented directly at the routing level.
Automated discipline.
I love it.
Okay, the last one. Scenario D manual assignment. Now, this isn't really an automation scenario, but it addresses that trust issue we talked about earlier. Some teams just aren't ready to let the robot drive yet.
Right. This is the board view. The manager selects a queue manually, but instead of just seeing a dumb list of names, the AI provides an agent recommendation list.
So it acts as a suggestion engine.
Yes, and it visualizes why it's recommending someone. It shows a card with their skill match, their current bandwidth, and a sentiment score match. The manager still has to physically click the button to assign it, but they are making a heavily data-backed decision.
So it's a glass box instead of a black box.
That's the exact goal. If a manager can see why the AI picked Agent Smith, like, oh, he has capacity and he actually solved a similar ticket last week, they are much more likely to agree with the AI.
And eventually, after clicking yes 50 times, they realize they don't really need to click anymore.
Exactly. They just turn on the autopilot. It's
Yeah.
a designed path to trust.
All right, so we've got the setup, we've got the scenarios. I want to zoom out to a really interesting question that came up in the Q&A section of the source material. It's about data management.
Okay.
If you listening are using Salesforce or Zendesk or ServiceNow, and you add SupportLogic on top of that, where is the single source of truth? Who is the actual boss of the data?
This is a really critical architectural point. SupportLogic becomes the source of truth for the assignment logic and the skill ontology.
Even if the ticket itself physically lives in Salesforce.
Yes, the ticket lives in Salesforce. It remains the system of record. The agent availability might even be pulled from Salesforce. But the rules, the actual decision-making process of who gets what, live in SupportLogic.
That becomes the system of intelligence.
Exactly. And importantly, the skill definitions live there too.
And how does that skill definition update over time? Because you mentioned earlier that the system actively learns. Does a manager have to go in and click thumbs up every time a ticket is closed?
No, and that's a very common misconception with these modern AI systems. People think it requires constant human feedback loops, like good robot, bad robot.
Right.
It doesn't. The system learns directly from the closed cases. It extracts skills from the text of successfully resolved tickets and updates the ontology automatically.
Let me make sure I have this right. If I suddenly start getting really good at solving Python script errors and I close 10 of those tickets this week, the system learns, hey, this agent knows Python without anyone manually telling it.
Precisely. It observes successful resolutions to refine the matching, and it specifically distinguishes between, I worked on this ticket and I actually solved this ticket.
Wow. That distinction is vital, because just because I touched a ticket doesn't mean I helped. I might have just transferred it to someone else.
Exactly. The system actively looks for resolution signals. It's building a dynamic competency graph based on actual outcomes, not just inputs.
So when we step back and look at this entire evolution, from manual spreadsheet routing all the way to this proactive learning engine, what is the real takeaway for the listener today?
The massive shift is that we are moving from allocation to optimization. The old systems asked, is there space? This system asks, is this the best fit?
Right.
It considers agent well-being. That burnout prevention piece is huge. And it considers the customer's time zone and sentiment. But the real power is that agentic ability to adapt. You don't have to constantly rewrite the rules. The system rewrites its own understanding of who is actually good at what.
It effectively removes the whole admin burden of maintaining a skills matrix, which, let's be honest, is always out of date the absolute moment you write it down.
And 100%. The map draws itself.
Here's a provocative thought to leave you with. If this system is constantly learning and redefining skills based on closed cases, does the definition of an expert become fluid?
Oh, absolutely.
Think about it. Usually you get a badge or a certification that says, I'm an expert. But in this world, the AI might know you're an expert at a specific type of problem before you do, and certainly before your manager does.
That's a fascinating implication. The AI identifies talent based on actual performance output, not pedigree or tenure. It really democratizes expertise.
And it might even start assigning you work that stretches you in directions you didn't plan, simply because it sees you're statistically good at it. It's almost like career coaching by algorithm.
Or career steering.
Yeah.
Which is both incredibly exciting and maybe a little daunting.
Indeed. Well, for everyone listening, hopefully your bus runs a little smoother tomorrow. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Thanks for listening.
See you on the next one.